What's up, guys? Welcome back to MF Rants with two S's for legal reasons. And today, we're going to be adding more characters to Multiverse Bash because this is kind of the only thing my channel does right now, and there's not a lot of ranting yet. Anyway, our first character, our first villain added today will be Triborg from Mortal Kombat X. I personally mained Triborg. I really liked Triborg because you could be Cyrax, Sector, or Smoke. And Cyber Sub Zero if you did that little cheat input stuff, which I thought was pretty cool. Anyway, yeah, so Triborg, goated character, I really liked him. And he's added to the squad. Anyway, let's see, what's his name? Baron Corbin is back in the WWE, going after the US title. I thought that was really because I figured he was like gone after Vince got removed. Because you know how Vince is. He's just like, he likes his guys, doesn't like indie guys. I guess they need some people to fill up the roster since so many people are leaving, like Sheamus and the New Day left. New Day left a while ago, but Sheamus also left recently, which kind of sucks. I wish Sheamus stayed, but they just were never gonna give him Grand Slam. Kind of sucks to see. Anyway, next up we got Spawn of Todd McFarlane fame. And Spawn's been in a few fighting games like Mortal Kombat, and that's about it. Did Mortal Kombat. He was pretty good in that game, and I just like his look and character. So I feel like he'd be fun to have in Star Smash as well. Because this isn't going to be like a teen-friendly game. It's going to be blood and gore. Because I'm pretty sure every character on this roster has been shown bleeding at least once. Like come on, like Wendigo. Do you think this isn't going to have blood? There's Wendigo. This is going to be like rated M for mature game because we got Snowflame here. The cocaine-powered supervillain. Like, what are we doing? Do you think there's not going to be violence? Anyway, next villain we're adding. One second. Next villain we're adding. Tremor from Mortal Kombat. I feel like he was completely underutilized in MKX and MK1, and he's just such an interesting character because of his rock powers and stuff. So, you know what? Now that I think about it, nah, we just added Tribark. There's no reason to add Tremor. So that means surprise new character, Deathstroke from Injustice, because specifically Injustice Deathstroke, because character-wise he's not as despised, honestly, because there's less input of him being a enjoyer of children. Because comics Deathstroke is like really bad. He had this whole thing with Tara, the teenager. And that's I love it. It's like that's rough enough. I do that. I don't recommend being a disciple of people like that. So yeah, comics Deathstroke is absolutely deplorable, but Injustice Deathstroke is slash Ark and Deathstroke is pretty cool. Next, to get our Batman fill, because we're not having main Batman. Well, we technically have main Batman, but also Batman Beyond. I feel like it's absolutely goaded. Terry McGinnis, one of the great Batman. Anyway, uh, next up for the roster, we're probably going to be adding another hero. Because I don't remember who I put behind these boxes since I do it pretty early in the day. Oh, we have Kane Parker's Spider-Man. I always loved his suit design more than Ben Riley's spider suit. So yeah, honestly, I might change up the roster a little bit and make them in a DLC a little later because they don't really have many costume options. So I may have to change up some stuff, but I'll obviously tell you in an actual video rather than just guess. You know. Anyway, now to the Giants. We're adding to the roster of specifically the Giants because we have two rosters. Boom, boom, right, right, right. You all know. Anyway, what was I talking about? I'll open this. Let me ramble for a I feel like it's surprising that they're bringing back. Uh, because I'm surprised they're bringing back Baron Corbin because I figured he was gonna go to AEW because he's been in a lot of indie shows that partner with AEW pretty closely, like MLW and the MLP was one of those ones. He was also in a dark match with Billy Gunn and that tag team Better Together. I saw them at a reality wrestling show. I thought they were really good, and they got beat by Fly Death, who was also on an AEW show. Sure, it was like they were squashed by the Hurt Syndicate, but also, what are you gonna do against Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin? They're both like titans of the business. They hurt people. What are you gonna do against them? Anyway, before anyone calls me a LARPer, because I've never actually watched or read Kaiju number 8. I've just seen the character and thought he looked really cool. So yeah, we're gonna add Kafka Hibino from Kaiju number 8. I think he's pretty cool. So I might actually, if you guys want me to, I may actually read up on the lore and figure out what that's all about because he seems super cool as a character and a kaiju. And he has like lightning powers, I think, so that's pretty cool. I don't know. I'm sorry for being a larper. Anyway, next we got this one is a deep cut from Image Comics. We got Hero Zero, who fought Godzilla way back when. You can check Wikizilla for stuff on him, but he has just a different enough moveset that I think it'd be cool to see in a game. And honestly, we may have to put him in a DLC pack in a little bit, but I don't know. We'll see once we get to the other pages and stuff. Because there's more pages to this, I just haven't shown them. But yeah, in the future we'll definitely get to them. Like we'll get to the costume pages and stuff, the DLC pages. Yeah, there's a lot more to this coming up than there is right now. And I'm actually planning out the new one. The old one had a little more planning time because I just had a lot of free time back in school. But now that I'm just at home all the time, I'm kind of dealing with some other stuff mentally rather than just physically. Anyway, next character we're adding for the villain side of the Giants is the DC character Titano, who I guess is just, a big superpowered monkey with robot bits. So that'll be fun to see him fight a character like King Kong or something. I don't know. I just figured it'd be cool and we needed a DC representative for this rather than just, uh, random, like, Image Comics representative. Like, no one knows who Heroes Zero is unless you're like an avid kaiju fan. And I am, luckily. So, let's think a giant with like a superhero gimmick and laser eyes is cool. So that's probably why I added him. And I don't know anything about the character, but I'd like to look into it more on Wikizilla because that's kind of the best we got for a lore character. I mean, next up, this one is also a DC rip. We got Batman's Batman from Monsters vs. DC, which is when Godzilla and Kong fought the DC universe. Which honestly, another thing that surprised me, I didn't know that Superman was weak to radiation, especially Godzilla's radiation. But I guess it makes sense. I guess it makes sense that he'd be weak to it. I guess I just didn't expect it, because it was kind of a surprise to see him weak to it that much. Like he got burned and knocked down, and somehow Shazam got taken out by Godzilla. I don't know how. Shazam's really strong and durable, but I guess Godzilla's just built like that. I don't know what else to say. Next up, for the villain side of the kaijus, obviously, no kaiju fighting game, no kaiju talk is complete without the Lovecraftian horror representative for any kaiju media. He's Cthulhu. Because Godzilla has faced Cthulhu in a comic book I learned, which I would actually like to look into, because we've all seen Godzilla do crazy stuff like go to hell. Like he's been to the underworld. He's been there and been back. And very few characters have done that. The only other one I know of is like Shredder. And I was surprised when I heard about that. Shredder's been in the underworld, which means his power scaling is crazy. Like, come on, how that guy's built different if he's been to the underworld. Come on. Anyway, our last good character for Multiverse Bash on the Giants roster is Zilla Jr. from specifically Godzilla the Animated Series. I never watched it. I never grew up on it, but I know he was so goaded. He was so much better than the original Zilla, and I feel like he deserves to be the agile Godzilla in Multiverse. With he has green atomic breath. He's very original, which I really enjoy. But anyway, we still got to find the spot to fill for where Tremor was originally supposed to. So you know what that means? We start looking. Okay, what are we thinking here? I know we're not thinking any Mortal Kombat characters, but I know we'll find some. By the way, I get all my renders from DeviantArt, and you'd be surprised how much stuff that is not YouTube safe to be on. It's on. I guess you wouldn't be surprised. It's just I guess you're not surprised if you know the history. When I do get annoyed at all the AI, that really pisses me off. I'm vividly vehemently against the term vehemently against it. I really hate it. I don't know how anyone can get behind AI. Like, oh, it's so easy. Yeah, but then there's no actual creativity to it. There's no joy. There's no like actual work put into it. You suck, so you use AI. Like, learn to draw. It doesn't matter how long it takes. You should learn to draw rather than just use AI. It's just my personal opinion. I mean, AI is good for making it do the tedious jobs in like work fields, like filling out charts and stuff, and, like really annoying things like that. But yeah, I never recommend AI to anyone. I recommend using yourself to put some actual work and love into the work you do, you know? Because if you have no emotion put into your work, then it's like as if it's not even your work. It's just random. It's generated crap. It's generated crap. That's all I can say. Anyway, that's enough. Just normal talking about superheroes' death because that's all I seem to do. Honestly, I'm kind of sad in life. I know if I start working towards being happy, I will be happier. But right now, I just have been kind of sad recently because you know my YouTube channel is not really getting as much traction as I'd like it to, obviously. But I don't expect it to get the most traction ever. I just expect something. I guess I could say something that'll like show that I'm making progress, show that I'm going somewhere. But I don't know. I'm just I'm just really trying, but I feel like I'm not getting anywhere. But if I keep moving, I'll get somewhere. I know that much. Because no matter how much my mind holds me back, I know if I just keep pushing, I'll get somewhere. But I guess we'll never know. We can always hope. We can hope all I can, you know. Hopefully I'll end up somewhere if I just keep hope alive. But anyway, that kind of got a little deep. My therapist. I have my therapist on Saturday, so I can just talk to him about what I'm thinking about. By the way, I might as well say this. There's gonna be a boss fight system in Multiverse Bash because there's some characters I think that are just good enough to be boss fights rather than just characters you play as, you know? Like a few boss fights just to give you a heads up. Definitely gonna be characters like, let me think. We're gonna have Apocalypse. I recently rewatched the death battle of, you know, Black Adam and Apocalypse, and I realized, wow, Apocalypse make an amazing boss fight in this game. But otherwise, we'll have to think of some other characters to add you know, as boss fights. But I think Apocalypse would be a really good I think I'm adding Quicksilver, but then I realized we're trying to do villains. We're trying to fill out the villain roster. So, what speedster villains are there? I don't remember. There's definitely some, but I don't really know off the top of my head. We're not gonna. Actually, Quicksilver's been a villain a solid few times, so he would work. Actually, now that I think about it, my sound studio was collapsing on me because I built it very bad. It's literally just a blanket over my head and the microphone, and I just expect that to work when it obviously will not work for very long. Like as long as it lasts through the recording session, I'm happy. But it sometimes doesn't really do that because I move my head forward or something, and then it collapses in on itself because it's just a blanket. It's just a white blanket, so I can't really expect it to work all too well. Sorry, that's taken a while. Just trying to find a good render for Quicksilver. Also, I feel like one of the best comic book artists in well, honestly history, I would say, has got to be Alex Ross. I've always loved his art. Alex Ross's art has always looked so realistic and just fascinating to me. So I always thought he was really great at drawing different characters. characters. Like his drawings always fascinated me and make me think he's really and make me know he's amazing. You know? Yeah, I'm not really finding a good one right now. I can't really think of anything off the top of my head that'll work. Um, yeah, I don't really know what else to say. I'm trying to find stuff, but I can't really find anything. It's really on my bad. I guess I just kind of found an excuse to talk for a little bit longer because I am trying to honestly transition from Multiverse Bash into just actually ranting. You know, I feel like it's kind of dishonest to call a channel MF Rants and not rant about more stuff and just show Multiverse. And Multiverse Bash is something I'm very proud of, obviously, but it's not a way to get me to rant as much as I'd like to. You know what I mean? You get it, yeah. But yeah, I'll have to find a good villain to add. Anyway, my bad for not adding another one to the roster, and I will obviously have to change up some stuff when I come back next video. But in exactly 6 videos, I will have a cameo from the future of MF Rants. You know, a time traveler, say. Someone who will be the future of MF Rants and the beginning of White Boy Green Screen Game. So keep